people. Basically, what I say in the book Thinking for a Change is that the major difference between successful and unsuccessful people is how they think. That is a truth. The major difference. If I could do one thing for you, I would walk off of this platform today and I would come down to you and I would share with you and I would teach you how to think correctly. Because people that think correctly will be much more successful than people that don't. The greatest gap between successful and unsuccessful people is how people think. And one of the things that successful people do very well is they engage in what I call reflective thinking. And reflective thinking turns experience into insight. It's where we get wisdom. And reflective thinking has the ability, we stop and we pause and we think through it until we get insight out of the experience that we've possibly had. And people that handle failure correctly, they'll talk very candidly about their failures. They're going to say, boy, back in 2002, let me tell you, I failed in this area of my business, or maybe my business went bankrupt. They'll talk very candidly about their failure, but they'll talk just as candidly about what they learned from that failure, because people that consistently fail do not consistently fail in different areas. They consistently fail because they keep repeating the same failure over and over and over again. And successful people, they have an uncommon attitude about failure and difficulties and disappointments, and they have the ability to get back up and to understand that failure is not final and failure is not fatal. They have the ability not to take themselves so serious. Here's what I've discovered. The more insecure a person is, the more they fear failure. Fear of failure is a sign of a highly insecure person. Insecure people don't attempt things because they're so afraid that they might fail, and so they kind of back off and they say, well, I'm not going to try that. And basically what they do is they say, I would rather not try something and then, quote, not fail than to try something and fail. What I've discovered about successful people is successful people fail a lot more than unsuccessful people, because they try things a lot more. They attempt more. They risk more. They're not afraid to engage in life. They're not afraid to step out. I saw an expression one time on a wall. It says, don't walk, you might fall. Don't look, you might see. And I went over and wrote on the bottom, don't live, you might die. Now, here's what I love about attitude. One of the reasons I like to teach on the attitude, one of the reasons I like to write books on it, is because your attitude and my attitude is a choice. It's a choice. There are a lot of things in life we didn't choose. I didn't choose where I was born. I didn't choose who my parents would be. There are a lot of things in life that I didn't choose. A lot of things you didn't. I didn't choose my physical looks. And there are things you didn't choose. A lot of things we didn't choose. But let me tell you something what I love about attitude, which is the difference maker. Everyone here has chosen the attitude they have. Now you say, John, what do you mean by that? What I mean by that is attitude is a choice. Now what's interesting is, in the States, I have to do a lot of teaching on this because a lot of people in the States think that their attitude was given to them by someone else. And they'll say, well, I mean, you'd have a bad attitude too if you had to live with who I live with. Well, yeah, well, if you would, I mean, I came through poverty, and they think somehow that their attitude was given to them by someone else. And I just want you to know, your attitude wasn't given to you by anybody. The attitude you have right now, whether it's a good one or a bad one, a positive or a negative one, can I tell you something? The attitude that you have right now is an attitude that you have personally chosen. It's you. Therefore, I never feel sorry for somebody who has a bad attitude. Because if they have a bad attitude, I don't feel sorry for you. It's your choice. You can have any kind of attitude you want. I don't care. If you want to be a failure all your life, it's your choice. Go for it. Be the biggest failure we know. It's your choice. But I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. Since it is your choice, I'm not going to try to talk you out of a bad attitude. When our daughter Elizabeth, who's a beautiful, beautiful mother now of 2, 28 years old, when our daughter Elizabeth, who's a beautiful, beautiful mother now of 2, 28 years old, She used to think that she could control me with her attitude. So she would pout or she would act like, and I'd say, Sissy, I call her Sissy, her name's really Elizabeth. I'd say, Sissy, if you're going to have an attitude like this, go to your room and just shut the door so that you don't spread your gloom on everyone else. And when you put on a happy face, you can come back out. I may see you today. I may see you tomorrow. I may see you next week. It's your choice. Choose it. Margaret and I were doing a conference many years ago now, and we were doing a question and answer period. I'll never forget this. We're doing a Q&A. We're going back and forth with question and answer, and so one of the wives, there was not a big crowd, there were maybe 600 couples, and one of the wives looked at Margaret and she asked the question. She said, and I don't know, we were teaching leadership. I have no idea where the question comes from, but when you let people ask questions, you get some real weird question. And the lady raised her hand. She said, does John make you happy? Well, I kind of liked the question because I think I'm a wonderful husband. And so I thought, well, this will be nice. You know, sweetheart, go ahead and answer that question. And I'll never forget, Margaret looked right at her, and she said, no. She said, he doesn't make me happy. And I said, honey, explain what you mean by that. Have you ever asked somebody to explain what they meant? And so they explained what they meant, and when they finished explaining what they meant, you wish you wouldn't have asked them to. Because, I mean, it's like she was waiting for this question all of her life. And she looked right back, I'll never forget, she looked right back at the people and she said, I realized in the first 6 months of our marriage that he'd never make me happy. Now, I don't know if you have the gift of discernment, but we're going downhill very quickly. And then she said, because for the first 6 months of our marriage, that's what I expected. I expected him to make me happy. She said he had a business, and I was a school teacher, and I would come home, and I'd say, well, boy, tonight we'll spend some time together. And he might say, you know what, I have a client I have to go see, or I'd have to go grade papers. And for the first 6 months, I kept saying, John will make me happy, 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 John will make me happy. And she said about 6 months in the marriage, she said, I realized something. The only person on this earth that can make me happy is me. And the moment I took responsibility for my own happiness, she said from that time on, and then she pointed to me, he has added immeasurably to my happiness. That was close. Now what's she saying? She's saying, I'm responsible for my own attitude. I know people that they think, well, if I could just leave this job and go to another job, I could get happy. If I could just move, I'd get happy. If I could just marry her or him, I could get happy. And I'm here to tell you that if you're not happy today where you are, you're not going to be happy where you're going. Attitude and happiness, that's an inside job. In fact, I love this expression, no matter where you are, there you are. And people that are successful have an incredible attitude about adversity and difficulties and about the darkness of the hour. And they come back. They come back. They have a tenaciousness. They have a persistence in their attitude. Now, I get about this time of the day, and all of a sudden I think all of the things I still want to teach you that I know that probably time's not going to let me teach. And while I was signing books over there today, all of a sudden it hit me. There's something I want to make sure that I teach you about leadership that I just don't want to miss. And so while I was signing books, I asked them to put this together over here, and they did. And I have no clue if I could really make this work or not. They told me all I had to do was write on it. So I'm going to assume that if this is an overhead and all I have to do is write on it, I want to teach you, I don't know, for 25 minutes. I want to teach you the 5 levels of leadership. Okay? And what I want you to do on a piece of paper, okay, we're going to try this. We're going to see if this works here. On a piece of paper, I want you to do this number. Just like that. Oh, this is good. That is the weirdest step I've ever seen in all my life. What I want you to do on a piece of paper, do this. Oh, now we are. They didn't tell me I had to do it sideways. Remember, I teach leadership. And I don't have a clue. Oh, but I'm happy. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the way I want it to look on your paper. Okay? Have you got that? Now, what I'm going to teach here is I'm going to teach you that in leadership and in influencing people, there are 5 levels that we go through. Now, I don't care whether you're in a corporation. I don't care if you're in government. It does not matter to me. It does not matter what your job is or what you're doing. What I have discovered in teaching people how to lead is that there are 5 levels of leadership. And I'm going to start on the bottom step, and I'm going to work my way up to the top step, okay? So on the first level of leadership, what I want you to do is, this is what I call the position level. The position level, okay? At level number 1, the key word is rights, R-I-G-H-T-S. At level number 1, people follow you because they have to. They don't have any choice. They have to follow you. Now, let's stop there just for a second, okay? When I teach leadership, no matter where I am, I have found that this is an amazing discovery to most people. Most people think that the position of leadership is the highest level of leadership. In other words, they think, well, when I get to be over people, or when I get this job, and I'm, in fact, I can always tell when a person doesn't understand leadership very well, because they'll come up to me and they'll say, hey, John, last week I became a leader. Now, when they tell me last week they became a leader, what they're really saying is last week I got a leadership job. You with me? And I always look at them and I say, no, you didn't become a leader last week. You just got a leadership job last week. I know a lot of people that have leadership jobs that aren't good leaders. Let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever had to follow somebody that was over you that wasn't a good leader? Raise your hand. Thank you very much. Oh, here we go. Huh? It's not much fun, is it, huh? You see, just because you have the job, or just because you have the title, or just because you have the position, doesn't mean that you're a good leader. And many people, they really are amazed because they think, okay, I've got this leadership job, so now people have to follow me. In fact, can I tell you something? If you have to remind people that you're the leader, you're not. Leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. And the person with the greatest amount of influence at any given time, for any given reason, in any given group, is the leader of the pack. If you and I would just leave this arena right now and we go to some school, if the children were outside playing at recess, anytime you see children out on a playground, without talking to teachers or overseers at all, you and I could lean up against the fence, and in about 10 minutes we could pick out who the leaders were on the playground. Because a few kids are influencing all the rest of the kids. So when a person gets a job or a title or a position as a leader, the big mistake they make is that all of a sudden they're a leader. Let me tell you something. The position doesn't make the leader makes the position. And level number one is where we start. Now, there's nothing wrong with level number one as long as you and I both understand it's the beginning level of leadership. It's not the final, it's not the highest, it's not the best, it's the beginning level. It's where we all start. Nothing wrong with starting at level one unless we stay at level number one. Level number two. The second level of leadership is the permission level. At level number two, the permission level, the key word is relationships. At level number two, people follow us because they want to. Now notice, there's a major difference between level number one and level number two. In fact, to kind of help us distinguish that, let me just kind of do a little bit of this for a moment. At level number one, people follow you because they have to. At level number two, people follow you because they want to.